Hey everybody, you listen to the Combo Wombo podcast. I'm Chipmunk, and with me as always the Mr. Gimpy.
Damn, dude, you rushed through that today.
Nah, man, that was a standard. A little bit. Is this high energy, high octane.
Nah, man, you're like Sonic the Hedgehog going through that, dude. It's like,
That's right, dude.
quick.
You see those Sonic memes, dude? Gotta go fast instead of do it right.
Yeah.
That's the problem with your generation, Sonic. Yeah, dude.
For sure. What's up, brother?
I'm just out here living, man. I've been taking it super easy like the last 3 or 4 days. I haven't done nothing, bro. I've been listening to an audiobook. It went terrible. That audiobook was garbage. I don't know. I had a hope of hope. So I was like, maybe it'll turn out good. It just kept, I don't know. There's a thing I've heard. I'm not sure how true it is, but if you do writing, sometimes the character starts to tell its own story.
Yeah.
This is almost felt like the character started developing in a way that the author didn't want because they already had the plot points. So they just started I think the equivalent would be if you have ever played D&D and the dungeon master, it's called railroading the party. So it's no matter what they do, they end up to the next thing. They're basically on a track like a railroad, and they're no matter what, you can't deviate. So it's kind of what this felt like, where the main character was oh, I want to do this with my life, and I'm going to come here. And then the DM was and so ninjas show up and kidnap him. And I'm what the what? How? Dude, he's in one of the most secure facilities. You can't just, I guess you just did this, but this is ridiculous.
Right.
You know?
For sure.
It's it's oh, and then a wizard shows up and magics you guys away. And you're man, this is bullshit, DM. We can't explore this area at all. We can't do our own thing. It's nah. You can't. Can't never be happy.
Stick to the rigid plot points. I gotcha.
Yeah. So it seemed like the author kind of had the first 2 story arcs I out. And they have a interesting world idea, but it's not that interesting, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I feel like these web novels live and die by the intro concept. Okay. And so if you're already reading the book from the concept, this one was a super soldier in the world, and governments have invented a device that allows people to teleport to another world, but people's souls are too weak, so they devise a serum that creates a stronger soul, which you have so many more questions now than answers, and you're all right, that's kind of interesting. And the super soldier who's supposed to go there, shut down, gets injected with the thing and thrown into the portal, and they blow up the thing, and you're yeah, all right, I'm in. Fuck it.
Okay, sure.
You don't need to sell me anymore, bro. Don't tell me anymore. Let's see how this goes.
Okay.
But instead they're oh, so let me tell you about my, whole world philosophy and how this other world and the history of this. I'm I don't give a fuck, bro. You have me at super soldier. Somehow souls are real in this world. And this, fuck it. Let's go.
Okay.
Yeah. So fucking wasted 3 days listening to that. So I've just been taking it easy. Let me see what's going on with this. Book's called Serum. I don't recommend. I give it a 2 out of 5. It's a little bit below mid.
Sure. Okay.
If people want to know.
That's fair.
And I've read other reviews now as well after I kind of got to the end of what's currently written, and everybody else kind of had the same thoughts of man, this was okay, and then it just kind of takes a sharp turn, and I'm yeah, it did. It's that railroad problem,
right?
Where it's the character started telling his own story, and the author was can't have that. And the other problem as well with web novels is you print them out weekly, so it's not a book where you can go back and edit and be oh, now that I kind of have the next railroad track down, I can more gently guide this into a curve to the next station. Instead it's nah, you're getting completely derailed.
Boom. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So bad. I did a little bit of work on my game earlier in the week. I showed you that with the car and then the combat areas. Yeah. And I haven't really touched it since. I started test playing the game, and it was just kind of fucking boring. I don't know how to fix that. I noticed, I was keeping mental track of when does this game not get fun for me? It's around day 4 or 5, and I'm not sure why. I think it's because you have not enough money or time to get to the next dopamine hit of your next big score of buying and selling items.
Okay.
So that's why I was all right, let me add in combat to at least try and break this up. But even that, man, I'm still not sure. I haven't gone back and added that into like an actual progression of the game. I just have a combat area to like test out.
Okay.
I didn't even put in like drops or anything yet, so you can't get money from it. So it's just like a weird side objective that does nothing. So
You think of
I don't know.
events, like an event happens or something, like a worldwide event, going, oh hey, a carnival's in town, and you have to quick run a carnival or something like that. You know?
Yeah, yeah. That was like an idea
Like
where it's like
where it's just like tapping a button or whatever. Something like
or
that.
like even just like sales and stuff that go on for like, you know, like, oh, like the common items are on sale, or like the rare items are like prices are skyrocketing on this, go
right,
so that way like you can prepare for it. Yeah, it's a possibility. I have like the day systems in there, and I have it like plugged into like a big event thing where like I can call upon that function from any other script. But man, I just don't know. I feel like, you know, I'm happy with where it's at. I feel like I'm going to start wrapping it up, and I don't know necessarily how to make it more fun or interesting. It wasn't a fun or interesting concept from the jump, from the rip. I was like, you know, it's based on like a calculator game, dude. It's like there's only so much juice that you can squeeze out of that.
Sure.
I know like the other ways to make it interesting, you know, add events, add like some sort of story or objective. You know, like why am I shooting these goons and goblins? You know, like the deeper, you know, and we talked about that as well, where I was like thinking about like trying to build some sort of like finite state machine that keeps track of like the world or the room or like the things that like the player wants, and like the ability to like set an objective on a map and be like, what are you looking to do over in this area? And then like you can be like, I'm looking for, you know, adventure. I'm looking to like buy stuff or explore. And then you can tailor like the NPCs, AI or dialogue to cater to that, to help point the player in the next direction to what they actually want.
Right.
I think that's cool in concept, but like high level, I just don't know how to execute it. Where I'm like, man, this sounds cool. I understand the moving parts. I don't know how to actually make that. Like, I need like a whiteboard and like to sit down. I need scientists in scientist coats.
Sure.
You know, like,
would you say in this project that you've succumbed to feature creep, or do you think it was a project where you didn't really have a end goal in mind, so that's kind of like where you are right now? You kind of accomplished all your goals, but there's no real way to like wrap it up. Is that kind of what happened, you think? Or?
Yeah, I'm definitely at that point where like I had the concept and I've executed on that concept, but like having executed out, like I never asked myself like if this is going to be fun, or like why should I make this? And like it's weird because it's like a systems based game where it's like mostly buying and selling and trading, and like there's like a day mechanic, and like there's no easy way to prototype that other than like building it, because like once you build that system, like that's the system.
Sure.
And that's, you know, what I've done over like the last 3 weeks is build out all those systems, and I made them modular and generic enough where like I can use them in other projects moving forward in the future. So it's like I'm kind of happy where it's at. I think I'm going to finish up like the combat areas. I got to tighten up some of the scripts, and then that's it. I'm just going to throw it out there and be like, yeah, it's not the funnest game. There's not really a point to it, but you know, whatever. I've thrown out not games on itch.io before. I'll throw out like a half-baked game. Eventually I'll get to a real game, you know.
You're moving forward.
Yeah, moving onward. Also blame like wanting to work on something new as well. I know it takes me about like a month to get like bored of a project is what I'm finding. So if I can keep on to the next thing within a month, then I can keep at least keeping my feet wet, staying in the pool. No matter how much pee's getting in that pool, I'll be in there swimming in it. You know?
Gross.
Yeah. No matter how many turds get dropped in that pool of games that I make, I gotta stay in it, dude. Like Snake, dude, like Solid Snake.
That's disgusting. I respect it though. I respect it.
Yeah, what about you? What you been up to, dude?
Jeez, I don't know how I follow that, dude. I don't turn to the water. Like I don't know how I follow that, bro.
I feel like I gave you the perfect tee up, dude, to like anything.
You gave me a tee up.
I gave you a little league T-ball, bro. Like that's Eddie. You can transition.
You know, as far as the game dev, just really polishing up the sprite sheets that I have.
Oh, nice.
I'm working on it slowly. Just kind of when I take a break from work, I'll start working on the sprite sheet, and I'll slow and steady. So that's still moving along. Once they're in, I think all I have to do is really just make sure the score system works and that there's a way to go back to the menu to restart and to save the scores. So I already have it built. I just never tested it. So I assume
Nice.
it works, but you never know until you try. Let's see what else.
Did you mess around with that prototype idea you were talking about at all?
I wrote it out. I wrote it out completely, and it actually seems fun. I shared it with my wife, and she's like, "Oh, I'd play that." And I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And
Nice.
very few games that I work on that is my wife interested in. It's not like her type of game,
Yeah.
so I think I'll work on that next. But I don't want to put the carrot before, or the whatever before the.
How much
the
of
egg before
the
chicken.
game did you write out? Like the high concept, like the core gameplay loop, or like is it like
Oh,
pages
I
and
wrote out
pages of detail? Like,
it's high concept. I wrote out overall goal. I wrote out how to get to that goal, and I wrote out the steps to get to the goal. So
yeah.
it's pretty much there, and I got assets already for it too.
Nice.
So yeah. And I bought a book on advanced AI pathing as well. To try and
Dang.
get some
To inspire you with
thoughts
my
about it.
question of asking about like the star path AI versus like
Yeah,
the
you did.
other.
Yeah. He did
There's so
actually.
many.
inspire me with it.
It
Yeah.
feels like most people kind of just do that like on 2D stuff, but
Uh-huh.
there's all kinds, man. It's a whole wide world. That's
Yeah.
why most of my
Yeah.
2D games have been in 3D lately, because like Unity has like a nav mesh built in, so it's like you can just tell like the AI to use that. So it's like it solves like a lot of pathfinding things. It's kind of resource intensive though,
Sure.
as I found out with like building a whole city with like a couple thousand people running around. It starts to bog down the system around like 500-600 people on the screen. But
Sure.
yeah,
Sure.
that's plenty. There's too
Yeah.
many. I had to like keep reducing the amount. So
Okay. Nice. That's pretty cool that you got to just add 1,000 people in. That's pretty impressive
yeah,
actually. And do you
yeah.
think because it wasn't true 2D, is that why you think it's bugging on the system because it has to render all 1,000 of the people? And I'm guessing they're rendering off screen as well.
Yeah, it's always rendering everything. I can turn off like a occlusion culling, and you can like program in like what it does. Like you can shut off like scripts and stuff. So it's like only doing like pathing or something else, but I don't have any of that on yet.
Sure.
I think it just takes a lot of processing, man. It is what it is.
Sure.
I think that's why like star pathfinding and all these other like solutions exist, is because like if you can just get like 2 vector points and then like
Yeah.
figure that out, or like
Yeah.
save like nesting objects within that grid or something, so other objects
Definitely.
know. You can do coordinates within coordinates, man. You can nest your paths inside a pass, bro. And it
So let me
helps.
let me ask you this, or get your opinion on this. So we talked about Battlebit Remastered a little bit last week. I bought it.
Oh, they got you, dude.
Yeah. And
The game's popping off, dude.
On the Discord that we frequent bought it as well.
Oh,
Butters and Fable are really enjoying it. I believe other people on the server bought it, so I think it's time, bro. If you wanted to jump on it,
hop
as well.
in,
Yeah,
see what's going on. I might have to, dude.
Yeah, it's
time.
I played very little, but I knew it'd be. I mean, it's Battlefield. Gunplay is smooth. It's fun. That's really all I can ask for. The destruction's nice.
You can blow
even
up things.
like,
You can drive into stuff.
Even like driving, just like a heavy like vehicle around, you're just breaking stuff as you're driving. It's pretty fun. So really enjoyed that. I thought it was cool. The chat I did not expect. The voice chat is just open. Like
VoIP.
Fuck it, there's like everybody against everybody, so it gets pretty hectic. It's pretty funny. It's definitely that old Xbox Live feel,
Yeah, that's what people are loving about it.
For better or for worse, but
I've heard that they got in some guides to it where like if people get reported enough on that, you will get banned, and it's like a perma ban.
Sure.
So it's like they're basically like, hey, have fun, but like don't go too far. And I see a lot of like the negative reviews are people complaining that they're like, oh, they're recording the voice. It's like, yeah, dude, because if you say some crazy or racist nonsense, dude, you're gonna get perma banned, and they don't need you being like, I never said that, and then they can be like, well, really, and then play back the audio to you. You'd be like, okay, maybe, but I was like really mad though. So it's like, bro, we don't care,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, like I said, if you wanted to pick that up too, enjoying it. For the Steam sale, I picked up a couple of games outside of Battlebit. I picked up the DLC for Dead Cells, where it's Dead Cells meets Castlevania, which I was very excited for. And I picked up Maximum Action, which the 1.0 version is coming out soon. It's just, gun fu, slow motion stuff. If you've ever played Action Half-Life back in the day, it's the exact same thing. It's just a sandbox of stuff where you can look cool shooting people. I picked up Grimlord, which I talked about last week, which is the VR Dark Souls. And I picked up Ancient Dungeons VR, which looks kind of like Minecraft, but has a very fluid combat system, and a co-op update should be coming out in the next couple of months. And I think that's it for my pickups so far, anyway, on the Steam sale. How about you? Did you pick up anything at all, or did you look at it?
I looked for like weird shit, but none of it was on sale. I just added it for like to my wish list. Like I added like it was like the last game made with like the build engine that was like released. So I got you have it. Yeah. You already had it. I saw you had it. I was like, you fucking hipster. I was like, if it was any good, I feel like you would have told me. So I just added it to my wish list. And then there was like a
decent, but I prefer, as far as build engine, Blood. I prefer over anything else, even more than Duke Nukem. And it's good, but it definitely can't. Maybe it's because I'm playing on hard too. But I was gonna say it's build engine difficult as well, if that makes sense. I mean, they kind of hit scanny, but it's fun. It's fun.
Gotta be fast. Gotta have your reflexes about you.
Yeah. But go on. Sorry.
No, there was like a couple other games, but they also weren't on sale, so I just threw them on my wish. This is the problem with Steam, dude, is they program you to always look for on sale stuff. I saw people complain about this with the Diablo 4 because of all the skins and stuff that they're selling for like $30 almost. They're like, why would they put this shit on here for like $25, $30? This is ridiculous. Nobody's gonna buy it. I was like, you say that, but they already got you. Because he's like, as soon as they're like, oh, buy all 10 of these like skins that you wouldn't have paid $30 for, but now you can buy 10 of them for $30, and you're like, oh, that's like 300% off. I've got to get it. It's only $2.99 this weekend, dude. And you're like, oh, well, that's 90% off, dude. That's a deal. This is the pricing for it to be on sale. The always on sale pricing.
For sure.
They just mess with your psychology where you're like, what's 300% off, dude? Like, I'm losing money by not buying. It's like, it's 100% more money than you were ever going to spend on it, dude. Like 2 weeks ago, you're like, nobody would ever buy that. Now you're like, oh man, it's such a good deal. I got to get it.
Exactly. It's all right. But yeah, man, I've just been chilling for the most part. But let's get into the nitty gritty of what I wanted to talk about today. We teased it last week.
All right. Well, I can also say that the RPG Maker Unite drop for Unity, everyone kind of hates it. It's kind of shit. It just takes forever to load up, and it's using it's like a whole ass other game engine scaffold on top of another game engine. Yeah. So it's a bit buggy and like slow. Yeah. Sure. As you can imagine.
Yeah.
So I don't know, people not happy about that, but still seems like I'm sure they're like paid advertisement maybe, because people are like, this is great, but you never see them using it. They just kind of are like showing like the fucking highlight reel or the actual like ad for the thing. And they're like, it's out now. You can get it. You can do all this stuff. It's like, use it. Show me. Go on. Sure. I'll fucking wait. Yeah. So I don't know. That's out. I think they had the other Unreal Engine update to 5.2. I think we talked about before. But
we did, yep.
I saw some of the demoing of that with like they have like kind of like a new node based like build system, so you can like drag and drop stuff in, kind of like Houdini.
Yep.
They look cool. I don't know. It's kind of leads back to the other bigger problem of like all these big open world games with like fucking nothing in them. It's like you can create this shit even faster now. It's like, cool, bro. I don't know. It's kind of like I can't even come up with a good way to make a boring 2D game fun, bro. Like
Beauty,
how you gonna make
no substance, right?
Yeah. Have a game with like all substance, no beauty, and it's still no fun to play, dude. Like it's we gotta get more battle bits, dude.
Yeah. So here's a couple of two things happened in the world of gaming. Arcade Studios Austin famously released as far as AAA goes, this is the most poorly reviewed game of the year. It'll probably be the most poorly reviewed game of the year, and when the time comes up on it. And that game is Redfall, a game where I probably famously, you know, as far as people who listen to the pod, if anyone remembers, our picks for games we're looking forward to in 2023. I said, even though it looked janky, I believed in the studio. I was like, these are the guys who made Prey, they made Deathloop, they made, you know, Dishonored. I was like, there's no way that these guys who made banger after banger after banger are gonna fail on this. And I was like, it's interesting they're going multiplayer, and I'd like to see what they do with their world building. Plus, you know, how you're gonna guide people along in a Left 4 Dead style scenario. You know, fast forward to game's release, and they did it. That game sucks ass. That game is buggy as shit. There's no soul to it. Everyone hates it. There is a peak player base of 200, I think, in the last couple of weeks, which 200 of the most dedicated diehards, I guess, are playing it. But you know,
I think it's on Game Pass, so maybe it's like
Pass, and it's still like doing terrible.
Maybe it's like people just coming into like you know, rubbernecking about looking at a car crash. They're like, what is going on with this game?
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, so Microsoft has come out and said that Arcade Studios Austin is not on the chopping block for releasing a shit game, which, you know, we'll see how that goes in the next couple of months.
It sticks to what they want though, as well as the games as a service, live multiplayer. So it's like, oh, they didn't hit their objectives, and they're not looking at it as like this is a failure. They're looking at it like this is a failure of processes. How can we improve this so next time it's we can sell more shit? They're
looking at it as a failure. But here's the thing:
but it's not the type of failure for what the reasons you would think of, like, oh, the gameplay is broken, this is shitty to play. They're like, oh, we didn't get the retention we wanted. We don't have like the people playing the game, and we aren't getting like sales out of the store. Like that's their failures. You know what I'm saying?
It's one of those things where you had a square peg in a round hole. I feel you take a studio who's like world renowned for their greatly crafted single player experiences, and they've kind of dabbled in multiplayer and co-op multiplayer with the Wolfenstein Youngblood game. The Arcade made the world for that game as well. But the problem being, no one in that studio wanted to work on Redfall. I don't know how this pitch came up. I'm assuming it was a Bethesda pitch at the time. And then I think it was
ZeniMax.
Yeah. So the developers on the game were all like, "This game's shit. We don't want to work on it. We want to work on something else that's in our wheelhouse." They just got done with Prey, and they just got done with Prey Moon Crash. They were like, "This is fucking great. Let's do that. Let's do something else like that where it's a big open like world that we can craft and do a narrative on it." And then the higher ups are like, "Nah, you're working on this." Yeah. So 70% of the staff from Arcade Austin left. They just quit. So
they bounced.
When you're in the middle of developing a AAA game and 70% of your studio leaves, you have a new studio, buddy. Like it is not
gone. It's a different studio.
And why did they quit? These guys like joined Arcade for the first part for their pedigree for the single player just intricate worlds that they created, and then they left because you took their core ability away. It was gone. You know,
the artisanal farm to table single player level designs.
Yeah. It's completely gone.
Is this new game built on their like shitty Void engine still though? Because like even Deathloop was like that engine was kind of long in the tooth. Whereas like if you had a computer that was like a couple of years old, like it kind of fucking chugged to play that game. So I wonder if like
it's Unreal Engine.
Is it? All right.
Deathloop also used Unreal Engine.
No, I think they're using like their own in-house Void engine, dude. I'm just gonna put that out there. All right, I'm just gonna say it as a fact. I'll be confident in it.
Redfall 100% is Unreal.
Yeah. So maybe is people switching over to a new engine and stuff as well, and then like,
I mean, it doesn't matter when it's 70% of your studio left.
They gone,
like,
dude.
You can be in whatever engine you wanted, dude. Like they're not going to have anything good.
Could have made that shit in Scratch.
So why did Microsoft continue it? My thought is they thought, well, this game's already half made. We can just put it out on Game Pass and see how it does.
Microsoft's been like a double-edged sword with Microsoft as well. It's like every time they acquisition somebody, they have taken a hands-off approach. They don't want to be like, oh, we're going to dictate how we're going to run your studios. But it's kind of like a chicken egg problem because they're like a golem running from like ZeniMax top level decision already of like make shitty multiplayer game. And then it's like, oh, maybe Microsoft will like see how shitty this is and be like, hey, you guys sure about this? Like
the devs who stayed The higher ups at Arcane who stayed have come out publicly and said that they wished Microsoft would have canceled the game,
Yeah.
like because they knew it was bad. They released it knowing it was bad. The skeleton crew working on the game currently hate working on it because it's bad. Like when you develop something, you kick it out the door, and you know it's not your best work. That has to feel like shit. When you're like a critically
I don't know, bro. I was
studio.
just telling you, bro. Like I was looking at my game. It's not fun. I'm still gonna kick that shit out the door. I'm like, you know what? I feel all right about it. I'm not gonna lose not 1 week of sleep. I'm like,
But you're not charging people for it.
that's true as well. Yeah, I would probably lose some sleep if I was like trying to get like money from my like friends, family, and other strangers, dude. I'd be like, fuck. I need to like try to figure this out.
Who somehow enjoy it, and if there's bugs, you're kind of obligated to fix those bugs, right? For like the 3 people who are playing.
Yeah, it's like 200, bro. Come on.
Yeah, right.
It's a lot, dude. It's it's not enough to keep everybody else, employed or working on the game, but it's something.
Thing, dude. Here's the thing. If anything on this pod, I do not want to be a hypocrite, right? I said I was looking forward to it. I said that it looked. I was like Arcane can't be beat. I installed it on Game Pass. I subjected
You're
myself.
One of the 200, dude.
I subjected myself to 300 hours or 300 hours.
300 hours.
3 hours. He said 200. I got it in my head. 3 hours of playing some straight Redfall.
How was it? Because like I don't like, hey man,
the fundamental level of shooting an enemy does not feel good.
All right, because like I famously stand for Cyberpunk when everybody else was dunking on it.
Yeah.
Because like that was not my experience with it. Like when I played it, I was like, I ran into like maybe one bug, but like all you see online was like the every glitch compilation, and it's like, all right, well that's like an aggregate of thousands of people's like problems.
Sure,
it's not like one machine where it's just like a fucking hot fiery mess. Did you run into like some of the jank, some of the glitches, any of that?
There's definite jank with like even like the enemy pathing and the enemy animations seem unfinished. I don't know if they're going for like a spooky vibe with like the vampires, but it
seemed like some of it was like some of those guys will just like appear behind people from some of the gameplay I've seen.
Which is fine if they're vampires. I mean, I don't mind that. Like Dracula could teleport, like I mean, I don't mind that. But like even like the bigger like vampires are just like bullet sponges. There's just like I guess the abilities look cool that you get, but for the most part, dude, it's soulless. It's really soulless, and that's not something that I can see myself playing for longer than just to test, man.
From like what I've seen other people playing, it just looks empty. Like there's not a lot going on. Like there's no enemies anywhere. There's not like it just looks like a ghost town, which, like you said, maybe it's like they're going for like some kind of spooky.
Yeah,
maybe I don't know. Just like it just feels like directionless all around, and like.
But as far as like buggy or jank, it was in my experience. I don't think I encountered any bugs. I think the AI is just poorly programmed or like not tweaked well. And like I said, like it's just they're not fun to fight. Which
it could be like somebody
them not being fun to fight. You know what I mean? That's just like
it comes down to like the core gameplay.
I mean, yes, core gameplay is bad. Yeah,
like the character camera controls.
Deathloop was my game of the year. I fucking love Deathloop.
Yeah, some people hated it, so it's like
yeah. Prey. I did it. I've never completed, but I bought it and installed it on my Steam Deck. It's fucking great. It's fucking great, dude.
Yeah.
And I got the Moon Crash DLC, which is like directly inspired Deathloop as well, which I'm gonna wait till I beat the game before playing Moon Crash. But like I can see myself enjoying the fuck out of it, right?
Yeah.
Like it sucks that this had to happen, but it goes to show you can't put this round studio who loves making a certain type of game into a square peg of multiplayer like looter shooter kind of games as a service continually pay whole.
I don't know, man. I respect them.
Yeah, are you gonna have Square Enix make a sports game? Fuck no.
They tried, dude. Remember that shit, Blitzball?
That was within their own. That was a mini game, though. That was within
their
own.
All right.
They never branched it out to something.
Remember Witcher making like fucking Gwent, dude? I think that's on life support. That card game.
It's done actually. But again, mini game across the bigger narrative too is just something to like your problem where they're like, this is open world. We need more stuff to do.
So just start putting in stuff. Was it intrinsic versus extrinsic rewards for like a player where it's like, no, this really furthers or helps like develop the gameplay. It's just like something to distract from like the shitty design from the ground up, like the bad philosophy.
Yeah.
I still have faith in the Arcane studio, even though it's like a basically new studio. I think
Arcane Austin, I believe Arcane as a whole was working on a different project. So like there's two different studios under the same banner, but Arcane Austin
one's in France.
Prey to Redfall, which sucked ass. So
I don't think it would take too much. Like you have like the bones of something there. All right, I don't know if you leave them buried or like if you keep on like chipping away at it.
No, that IP is dead. No, there's no way in hell. There's no way in hell you go back to that.
You know, I think you could do something with it.
You go back to the failed IP. If you want to do vampires again, do not call it Redfall. I can tell you that.
Yeah, call it Dayfall.
Yeah, you call it avoid anything. Avoid anything related to that. Yeah, which is sad.
I don't know, man. I think you could maybe bring it back. I think you just whatever you fix the AI. It's a big problem, but not like an insurmountable one. Like we know how to make games with AI.
The missions aren't fun.
That's okay, man. Like you don't need like. Why aren't they fun? You're our expert, our local expert. You have 3 hours in. Like
because the world's empty.
All right, so you fill in the world with some shit, dude. Like
there's no real value of doing anything. Like even Dying Light, which I famously didn't care for, had more intricate missions in an open world. So I think you need to have instead of just plain shooting enemies being the issue, you need to have objectives where you're doing something like you're fixing like let's say you're fixing like a dam or something, right? And the enemies are your obstacle to this, but your obstacle is also like a puzzle that you have to solve while managing these enemies and something. You need multiple things coming at you at once to stop this thing. And Redfall
like a reason for like the multiplayer. So it's like somebody's looking out, somebody's spying, somebody's shooting, somebody's
in my experience
doing the objective.
Done that, which is kind of like the bread and butter of any like co-op shooter like that. Even Left 4 Dead famously just where you're just running from one point to one point. Like you always have to like, oh hey, this doesn't work. We have to go repair this, put some barrels here, and do something like that. There's no like separate goal to get to your final goal. Then that's the issue.
Yeah, I felt like they tried to maybe make like the dump truck of like how can we make like infinite shitty missions to get like infinite shitty generated loot. Exactly. We want to generate missions to generate loot too, and that's the fun. And then but it's not.
Yep. So Redfall, bad game. It's unfortunate. I hope Arcane can bounce back from it, but if you're ever making a co-op shooter again, I'm not. It's a skip. Just based on merit.
I think you could still salvage what's there. Me personally, I don't know. I would, if I was given the problem top down and you're like, hey man, fix this shitty game for me. I'd be like, all right, first fix the AI. Second, we need some artisanal crafted missions. We also need some artisanal crafted locations that have that arcane fucking chef's kiss to it. Yeah. So to do that,
like arcade game.
No. Okay. No, I've avoided. I've fucking followed my boy Steve Lee, dude. He did like some level designs for them. He has like a YouTube channel, so he like goes. I've gotten like the high level of
Dishonored, as like a stepping point. Like it's cheap. It's like $5 on the sale right now. I suggest it. You'll understand why I'm so disappointed if you play.
I know why people love the games. I've seen a lot of gameplay and stuff, but I'll experience it. I'll try it out.
Yeah,
not above that.
Yeah.
I think like maybe you add like an underground vampire level so you can not have to deal with too much of the shit that's already on the surface. So I'd have like I'd separate it. I'd have B team work on a new area underground that has like good high level. What was that famous level? The Clockwork, something like Clockwork. From Dishonored 2, where it's like the whole level opens up like a nesting doll. I do something like simpler than that because I don't have any faith in the studio to do anything too complicated. Right. But maybe like a simplified version of that where it's like a couple like folding rooms or something in on itself. Yeah. And then like maybe add some sort of narrative reason of like why people would care about the city or the characters. Yeah. And then I would get the game from like a 3 out of 10. It's like with just those few changes to like 4 out of 10, maybe 5. Like I don't know. It's like because you've already like burned so many people like a bad first impression. Like,
Yeah.
I would get the gunplay feeling nice too. I think you gotta get rid of like bullet sponges and shit. Like,
yeah, it's you gotta have a react to your bullets. That's kind of a
and it's also like it's a fundamental design choice with it being a looter shooter, right?
yes.
So you like try to pick up gun with bigger number to act like an actual gun that it's supposed to already act like.
Yeah. But
and
even
it's
if
like
you have weaker guns, you should have the proper animations for the
and feel
people.
like it is just
I was playing like an armor system should be in place. Like if your gun's weaker, like the enemies all have armor or something, then you have to like shoot the armor off first. But if you have a more powerful gun, it just bypasses that. I think that's like a way. I forget which looter shooter did that. I want to say Division 2, because Division 1 was very bullet spongy, but Division 2 would like kind of solved that issue. But yeah,
it's that game Dead Rising.
Yeah,
just do that. Yeah, how'd they get like thousands of zombies like back in? Was it 08, 09, running around on screen on like an Xbox 360? You guys can't figure this shit out?
Yeah, 06, I think. I think it was a launch title or close to, anyway.
You're getting like Assassin's Creed 1 with fucking whole world of people like as particles. You can't do that, boys. You can't do
that's
girls.
That's Redfall, unfortunately. But this is going to be a little longer episode because of what happened recently. A game that I recommended on this pod, a game that I have said was my favorite extraction shooter, has announced that it's closing in September.
It's gone, dude.
Jaeger Interactive's The Cycle Frontier. The game, I personally haven't played it in months. Since February, I think was the last time I played it. I streamed it with some buddies to check out the current state of it, and the current state was ass.
What happened, man?
So what happened, or what news outlets and the developers are citing is cheaters being the problem for it closing, which cheating was a huge problem, don't get me wrong. But the problems were a little deeper than that. So being an extraction shooter, what do you need? You need a reason to go down there, right? So looting is a big part of it. You need to care about your loot. The problem with the cycle was when you go down to a certain time, the loot wasn't varied enough to really care about, to really get that intrinsic drip of fun, to go, I found a super rare item. Like the rare items weren't that rare. You know what I mean? Like,
also gives you that that fear, that primal fear, of like, I have the thing. It's my precious. It turns you into the Lord of the Rings golem, but not the game. That was also trash. But the character trying to protect the One Ring,
Yeah. So the problem is you take uninteresting loot at the higher tiers, and then in a bid to be unique and to maintain whatever, like thousands of people that they had playing it, they removed wipes. No, I think being an extraction shooter, I think wipes are a necessity for the genre to work. Now, without wipes, you have people at the higher level who play the shit out of the game hoarding all of their high level shit. And then you have people new to the game starting with low level shit, and you're playing against like this player base who just has god tier shit. So you're losing every gunfight you get into. You don't have a chance to explore the map and learn it. Like, and then what the game did that they teased about were like big in-game events. There was like a meteor shower event, and then there was like a nightfall event, things like that. That they did so few and far between, and because of the high base level of players that maintained the game, those weren't fun. Those weren't viable to go through, because as at my point, because I stopped playing, I was like a mid-tier level player. I tried to do all these events. I'm getting fucking shot from across the map. I don't even see the guy. I'm getting one tap. I have green armor. They have fucking purple gold bullshit. Just running around.
Hell yeah,
just killing me. And for a game that I liked, and I loved the gunplay, there was no parity between myself and other players, because the other players are just fucking god tier, and there's me who just wanted to jump in and have a good time. When the game was new, there was a lot of parity. We had like green armor versus like at most I saw like green, blue, and then a few purples here and there, but it wasn't bad. And then those guys usually went to the higher level world anyway. They added some things that were great, like if you don't have any weapons or whatever, they had like thing you could click on where you spawn with armor and a weapon, a decent weapon, and if you extracted with it, you got to keep it. They had
Decent.
different stuff like that, which was great. Keep that, but keep wipes.
Have
Um,
to.
yeah,
I
man.
think that's just
Like,
part of the that genre, and I know like there's a loud group of people who are like, no, let me keep my shit, just because of
don't listen to them; they're idiots.
yeah, don't listen to those. They don't know what they want. It just it isn't. It never a good idea to like, oh, we'll just keep all this shit forever. Yeah, I saw the same thing when I was playing that Dark and Darker beta, where the last day they're like, oh, okay, we're gonna wipe, and that's when I got like that taste of that same experience where it's like everyone brought out like their high level fucking gear that they'd been hoarding
Yeah,
during like the 2 week beta, and it was like you're gonna get fucking stomped if you weren't out there like being a loot goblin like in the last 2 weeks. That
yep,
also like people are coming out like you can outplay them, but like it just didn't matter because there's like such a disparity in gear,
yep,
and that's just that game type. The problem is
yep.
like when everyone just keeps that gear at it, where it's fine because at a certain point it levels out where everyone has high level gear,
Yes.
but also anybody who's coming back to the game, anybody who's new to the game is going to have a horrible time. Like there needs to be like either some kind of like you almost have to break up your game into 2 games at that point and be like, all right, this is the newbie friendly area.
Yep.
And Dark and Darker tried that, and it sounds like this game also has something like that where there's like zones where like you
Yes.
can go deeper to get better gear in Dark and Darker. In this game, it sounds like there's like other better zones where you can get better shit, but people are going to beat the shit out of you in like the newbie zones. Like if they're like together, same with Dark and Darker, they're together zones. It's like you can't even get not a chance to taste like a green or blue item
Yeah.
because people are just like sitting there beating you up just for the lulls, just to
What I
the
thought would
thrill.
solve this, and this might be a controversial thought, but on the last few days of these extraction shooters, make the loot rare loot. Make the loot good loot that these new players can equip and
Yeah,
experience it. Because you're wiping in a couple days, who gives a shit?
yeah,
Make the
yeah.
combat worth it.
It
The other
also
thing
gives
that's
like that same visceral feeling of like the old was it like Quake maps, like on Quake
yes,
3, where it's like if you know where like the loots spawn, like everyone's kind of rushing to those zones. And so if you can get there, you can equip like better gear, and then can actually fight your way out
yeah,
instead of just there's like a good feeling of that of like even if like you have some gear or something, you're like I'm just gonna go in naked, try and be a rat, run over, get some high level shit, and then like shoot my way out.
yeah,
Or I'll squat up and like we'll all like run over there. Like I don't know. It's a good feeling to have, and it's not something you want throughout the entire gaming experience, but that's definitely like a good way to handle like wipe days and like end of
yeah.
the month or whatever week. Sometimes, you know.
Yeah. And I wouldn't it wouldn't be like the super rare items that you've hoarded or whatever. It'd be just like higher tier items that give people a chance. That's all I want
Yeah,
is a chance.
just want a
You know,
chance.
and the cycle had some good ideas, man. Like their extraction system was the best of the extraction shooters, I feel, because you had a drop ship that you had to wait for. It came down, and then anyone could take that drop ship. They could just jump on there with
Yeah,
you if you're cool. They could like fight you. Then was jumping out. They could jump on, still try and kill you, but sometimes you'd all escape at the same time. Like it was a very interesting idea, and it was so intense fighting at all times. And the game just, I don't know, man. Like Jaeger, I think it was a thing of they released it too early, and they like the influx of players, they didn't have a chance to fight the anti cheat or to fight the cheaters quick enough.
yeah,
And what they should have done, honestly, is wipe earlier. I feel to try and get rid of the cheaters, or
yeah,
take the game down completely for a little bit to we get your anti cheat up. We just go, hey, thanks for participating in our beta 1. We're coming back with a beta 2. We're just, be honest, we're restructuring our anti cheat. Keep it going.
yeah,
They did none of this. They just kept it going. They were they're trying to fight cheaters as it was going on, but they also weren't developing like the core systems either. They kept doing like these weird weapon balances where they didn't need to, and then they started having these hoarders with higher level weapons. And they were trying to like tear them down to be to try and get parity, but it still didn't matter because you had like the highest level armor, you had the highest level whatever, and when you had white armor, didn't matter. You're gonna get fucking capped anyway.
yeah,
The cycle did a great thing too. Of Tarkov is famously hard, in every aspect of it. The game is unfriendly to new players. It's unfriendly to players who've been playing it forever. Truly.
Yeah, you got also have a cheater problem.
Yeah, who also has a cheater problem? Yes, but it's not as bad as
Yeah,
the
it's pretty
Cycle
bad
series.
now, but yeah, it's like you said. There's like enough fun shit in that game where
Yeah,
people will overlook it. And like you said at the beginning of this, where it's like, there's cheaters, but that's not the problem.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
I think like in every big game, people have some acceptance to like chicanery because they know like the devs really have no control over that.
yes,
But it's like if you're not even like willing to admit it or address it or at least like give people some kind of hope, like even Battlebits is doing with this right now, where they're like, "Yeah, we're going to change up our anti-cheat system and expect that next."
instead, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
and they're like, "Yeah, we know that people on Linux or using a Steam Deck won't be able to play the game anymore, but you know what? That's less than 4% of our player base. We don't give a fuck, son." Like,
it's not that they don't give a fuck. It's that they had to wait. Yeah, but.
yeah, to wait. It's like, what do we do? Do we try and make the best game for as many people as possible, or do we worry about like the 4% of the player base that will be impacted by this?
It would be interesting if they have two different versions, one with easy anti-cheat and the other with face it, and just let you pick at launch. I'd be cool with that.
Yeah, to let you play out where you want to play.
Yeah, don't cut it off. But I don't know how that would work from a parity perspective. If you have to maintain two different branches at all times, that'd be annoying from a small team. They're a team of 3. But with the Cycle, man, the other thing they could have done is they had very interesting enemies to fight because you had aliens and stuff, and you had like I wanted them to have like boss raids and stuff like that. Like they could have done so much with that world. That world was beautiful. The planet that they made and the like lore behind it was very interesting. The different factions you had were all very interesting. I thought if you could have like special events catered around any of the factions and then do like every wipe had a story, involving one of the factions or something like that. You could even have cutscenes of that. You could like reward players with special items for those things, and they could have done so much, man. And less than a year after being out, it's over. But I feel like the cheaters, sure, they're a problem, but the problem was more deeply seated.
Their lack of focus.
Yeah, lack of focus. At a certain point, they didn't know who to cater to but at that point, just keep with your vision. But it seems like their vision really stopped short. But yeah, rest in peace, The Cycle. You gave me some great memories. And for Redfall, it was nice. Good effort, I guess. But yeah.
I don't know.
Closing thoughts on any of these for you?
Just real quick to circle back to like persistent loot. I know like how Rust handles it. It's like an open world crafting system. It's like you get blueprints in that. And so like you don't get to keep the item. Like most servers wipe every week, but you get to keep your blueprints so you know how to like build back up to those items. But even those blueprints wipe like every like 3 to 6 months. So you can like build up. So there's ways to give advantages to long-term players and stuff without necessarily impacting like the core gameplay if it wipes every week or every couple of days or something.
Sure.
Final thoughts, man. It's unfortunate. It also seems like they didn't really have a long enough runway, but also there's like the competition just keeps rising as well with like even like free to play games, like looter shooters seem to be like what everyone's going for. Everyone's like live service games right now. Everyone's like going for almost like the old World of Warcraft killer. Everyone's like, how can we get some of that money? Yeah.
Marauders will be the next to die. You can mark my words on that. Whatever date it is, July 2nd, 2023. Marauders will die within the next 8 months is my prediction.
For Redfall, I don't think the studios want to let that die. I think they're going to try and give them some resources to try and figure it out. Or they might just be like, you know what? Let's just take the L on this and move on.
I think that's where they're going to go, but I can see your point too.
It's basically a new studio as well. I wouldn't even call this Arcane at this point. There's like Arcane New, Neo Arcane, something
Arcane Austin, because Arcane proper is still a thing.
No, not even clear. No, I'm saying like Arcane Austin isn't the same Arcane Austin. 70% of the people.
That's where I want to be clear though, because
so the only one
they played Arcane, like those guys are still around. It's Arcane Austin who famously worked on Prey. So
good. I don't even call it good effort, man. It was like it's a game. You got a paycheck. You got your bag.
That's really what it was, right? It was a
Yeah.
yeah.
I get it, man. Like if your boss is telling you to make like a shit game, it's like, I guess I'm gonna make this shit game, dude. It is what it is, man. Like you're not gonna be like, oh, I gotta, try and get out here and do the thing. So, yeah, it seemed like everybody who had some idea of like wanting to build like these beautiful artisanal handcrafted single player worlds got out, and they got everybody else who just was like trying to get their paycheck, and I'm glad they got paid. It is what it is, man. Stay strong. I would say this isn't an indictment of your skills or effort. It's just a learning experience,
It's at the end of the day, it's a job, right? Like there's tasks assigned to me at my job that I don't want to do, that I don't like doing, but I still do them, right? That's all that happened here. You got to remember, these game devs, they work just like us, man. Not all the time do you get to work on a dream shot project, That's all it is.
Yeah, and
that's all it is.
That's okay. And it's high level as well. Like usually at most studios, it comes from like the top down for what game you're going to be working on, what it's supposed to be. And it sounded like the people at the top didn't even know exactly what they're trying to be, so it's like money. It was like the Fessens and the Max were like, go grab that money, see what they're doing, try and do something like that. And they're like, okay, yeah. So it is what it is, man.
Yeah.
So it's like, how can you even do a good job if like you don't even know what type of job you're trying to do?
True.
Dude,
that's a good quote to end on, bro.
It'd be like, hey man, go build this house, and it's like, all right, man, do you have like a blueprint? Have we consulted with an architect? No, man, just start building it. And it's like, yeah, all right, fuck it. And we ended up with like a shit shack that like will be blown over by a gust of wind, and everyone's like, I'm surprised. How did this happen? I'm like, I'm not.
Exactly. Yeah, dude, good shit. So, man, that's.
If you don't have a plan, you plan to fail.
There it is. For the Combo Wombo podcast, I'm Mr. Gimpy.
Chipmunk.
We'll see you guys next week. Like, share, subscribe.
We out. Peace.
We out.